Can you hear me now? What about now? Are you able to hear me now? Okay, great. All right. So I want to welcome you all. My name is Shannon Kennedy, and I'm the head coach of Add1. I am here to answer your questions about Add1 and share how you can learn a new language to have a 15-minute conversation in 90 days. So while we're getting started, let me know in the chat where you are joining us from and what language that you're learning. So first, I just want to say while you're doing that I am really excited to have you join us in this upcoming Add1. I've seen both new and familiar faces, and I am just really looking forward to getting to learn alongside some of you again, and as well as learning alongside some of you for the first time in this Add1. So I'm going to begin with some of the most commonly asked questions I've received by email over the past few days. Some of these questions that are questions that you may have, they'll get answered in this section. But if they aren't, please share them in the chat and I will do my best to get through all of them before the end of this live stream. So first, if you are joining us and you aren't quite sure what Add1 is, Add1 is a community of language learners who commit to learning a language for 90 days. All of the participants aim for the same goal, to have a 15-minute conversation in their target language. Add1 empowers you to build a language learning routine that works with your everyday life. So it's all about building a language learning routine around all of the other commitments and responsibilities that you have. At the start of Add1, we ask you to choose a learning goal. So you'll choose X minutes per day, X days per week, and we help you keep accountable to that goal. So as an example, some people commit to 30 minutes, 7 days a week. Other people may commit to 45 minutes, 6 days a week. Some people aim to put in an hour or even more every single day. So how much time you learn is up to you, but we do suggest a minimum of 2 hours per week as a part of Add1. Within Add1, in addition to the community, there are also mini challenges and assignments that support you in building the skills that you need to focus on in order to have that 15-minute conversation. Plus, you'll get regular emails with hacks and tips that are tailored to where you're at along the 90-day journey. And in addition to working towards a 15-minute conversation, you'll also have the opportunity to explore how you learn best. Because Add1 isn't just about helping you build the skills that you need to become a successful independent language learner, but now in the future, we want you to be able to do that on your own. So everything that we do in the course is to help you build those skills. So we're not going to tell you exactly what you need to do, but we're more than happy to work with you to design a personalized plan to help you figure out what that is on your own. So as a part of that, we offer advice, we support you as part of a greater community, and we're more than happy to answer your questions and address any concerns you have as you progress through Add1. We do not provide you with teachers, and it's not a language-specific course, though we do have language-specific support for French, Spanish, and Korean currently, and we're adding other languages as a part of Add1 Boost. With Add1, so because it's not a language-specific course, we don't hand you a language course and then leave you to get on with it. Instead, what we do is we show you exactly how to learn your language, and we show you how to find the best resources for learning it. And more importantly, we show you the smartest way to use those resources so that you'll learn faster than you've ever thought was possible. So that's kind of a breakdown of what exactly Add1 is. Another common question that we get is, if I'm already spending money on Add1, do I have to spend money on language courses and tutors too? So the short answer is no. When we make recommendations for language resources, we know that you've already invested into Add1. So we do our best to make recommendations for free tools first. We do suggest that you work with a tutor, which is a paid resource. But if that isn't possible for you, we will show you how to connect with free language exchange partners, and then we'll help you get the most out of your time with them. So for me as head coach, it's really important to me to work with you to create a personalized study plan to help you reach that 15-minute conversation. And I'm happy to help you design it around whatever limitations or struggles you may have. As a part of Add1, you have access to me, so all you need to do is send me a private message, and I'm happy to chat with you to work through whatever doubts, hesitations, or concerns you have as a part of learning your new language. Also, we've looked into the tools that the most successful Add1 students use to learn a language. And the most popular tools for our most successful Add1 students are Duolingo, Memrise, Anki, Drops, and italki. And the good news is that every single one of these tools is available for free. Memrise, Duolingo, Drops, they all have paid upgrades, but these don't add anything essential to Add1. So basically this means that the free versions have everything that you need. Anki is completely free. italki is free if you chat with language exchange partners. If you use a tutor, you do have to pay, and good tutors are typically around $10 for a 45-minute session, so it's still pretty affordable. And the reason that we recommend working with a tutor is because over the 12 weeks, it's around $120. So it's not a huge investment. And it's a really good addition to chatting with language exchange partners because tutors, they are trained to instruct you in the language. If you ask a language exchange partner certain questions, they may not be able to explain why or even answer your question. Whereas a tutor, they have the knowledge to do this. So with a $10 lesson once a week over the 12 weeks of Add1 at $120, this is actually a really amazing deal to help you get to a conversational level in a language, because you would spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to do the same thing at a university or college. But again, that's completely up to you whether you choose to make this extra investment in a tutor. You can do Add1 with just the enrollment fee. You don't have to pay for tutors. You can use free exchange partners, and we do recommend other free resources. So the next question is, I wonder how much time is needed in general on a daily basis to reach the 15-minute goal at the end of 90 days. So the answer to this question is it's up to you. We do have 3 recommended study suggestions. So the first is 30 minutes a day for 7 days a week. The second is 45 minutes a day for 6 days a week, or 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. And the reason that we suggest these is because they get you well over that 2-hour mark. You're spending time with your language almost every single day, and that consistency is really important. And how you fill that time is going to be up to you. But again, I'm more than happy to help you with that. And then in addition to that study commitment, really like 5 minutes a day to check in with the community, to let them know where you're at, ask questions, answer questions that may have been asked by other community members, and just to kind of engage with the other Add1 challengers. And the reason that we think that this is really important is because of the accountability and the support you receive from the community. It really helps you get to that 15-minute goal. The next question is, can I learn more than one language with Add1? So the answer to this is yes and no. So when you do an Add1 and you're participating in an Add1, the answer is no, because it's an intensive program and your focus on one language is the key to your success. So we've had challengers try to do more than one language in an Add1 in the past. And as a result, they've struggled with burnout, or they don't reach their 15-minute goal because their time is divided, their attention is divided, and they don't make the same progress. So in an Add1, we do not recommend studying more than one language. But you can study more than one language with Add1, which means that once you complete an Add1 with a language, you're more than welcome to do another Add1 with a different language. So with us, you can study more than one language. We just don't recommend doing it at the same time. So kind of dividing that up. So let me go over to the comments and start asking some of the questions that you guys are answering. Christopher says, hello, very curious if there are thorough resources available for Bosnian language learning. So as I mentioned before, we do not provide the resources themselves. We're happy to make recommendations. For Bosnian in particular, it's very similar to Croatian, which is a language that I've studied. So I have discovered some Bosnian resources in that journey because I'm able to use some of them to improve my Croatian. So I'm more than happy to help you find Bosnian resources if you decide to study with us, Christopher. Amin says, I'm wondering what the schedule of classes is like. So, as I said before, this is a course, but there aren't classes. So, some of the things that you'll be doing in Add1 are completing your daily study commitment, which is something that you do on your own, but you have the accountability of the group. The next thing is that you have mini challenges and assignments, which happen pretty regularly throughout the challenge. There's 6 total between the two, so you'll be spending some of your time doing that. The next thing is that you'll be spending about 5 minutes a day checking in with the community. And then, as a part of your dream team, which is a group of other people learning the same language as you, we ask that you meet with them 1 time a week for about an hour. And this does count towards your study time in order to practice your language together. So I can talk more about that if you guys have any questions about that more specifically. Amin also asks, is it possible for 3 people who live together to register for one Add1? Or do we need to register individually? And if so, what's the benefit of registering individually? So you do need to register individually. The Add1 enrollment is for 1 person. You each have to complete your own separate registration. You each have to complete the assignments separately because, again, the way to make Add1 effective is by allowing us to help you personalize it. And so each of you will need to have kind of a personalized learning experience because even if you're in the same household, the way that you learn isn't going to be identical. And so you need to make sure that you each kind of develop strategies for yourselves individually, even if you kind of study together and do some of the things together. All right, so next question. Oh, I'm getting to the section where you guys share where you're from. Boston, learning Bosnian. Wisconsin, learning Spanish. Canada, for their wife, learning English. San Francisco, Tagalog. Hey, Lance, good to see you again. India, want to learn Mandarin. All right, so it's awesome that you guys are calling or joining from all over. All right, the next question is from Alex. What's the difference between regular Add1 and Add1 Advance? Great question. So Add1 Advance is only available to someone who's completed an Add1 before. And the reason for this is because Add1 is an intensive course, and we really recommend that you learn the structure of Add1 and you kind of develop that language learning habit first before you do Add1 Advance, which is an even more intensive version of Add1. So Add1 Advance is available if you've done an Add1 before, and it's the next step. So once you reach that 15-minute conversation, you're probably wondering what's next. Add1 Advance helps you figure out what that is. So it's more intensive in that you create weekly videos as opposed to the 4 videos that you create in regular Add1. In regular Add1, you create a video on day 0, day 30, day 60, and day 90. Add1 Advance, you create videos every week. We provide you with prompts in order to kind of help you figure out what to work on during that time. And you have your own set of mini challenges and assignments. Christopher asks how the award is decided at the end of the challenge. So that is a great question. The way that it's decided is through a series of processes. So the first is if you've completed all of the requirements for Add1, which includes the mini challenges, the assignments, your daily check-in, and the videos, you then qualify for the finale. And once you qualify for the finale, we share your progress with the rest of the community, and then the community votes for the people that they feel should go into the next stage of the finale based on their progress, based on their engagement with the community, and based on how they've completed the challenge. So then once that happens, 3 of the finalists are selected and they join Benny Lewis, the founder of Fluent in 3 Months, which runs Add1, myself, and another polyglot panelist. And the 3 of us go through the progress that the student has made, and we decide who wins the Add1 challenge from those 3 based, again, on a number of different factors. So it is completely unbiased, and it's based on how much you've progressed and the work that you put into completing Add1. And so then the winner is selected during that finale call. It jumped down. Oh, Christopher asked, how many people are typical in an Add1 at the same time? So there are usually anywhere from 100 to 250 participants in an Add1 at any given time. So there are a lot of learners learning alongside one another, which is really great for encouragement and motivation and accountability. Janet asks, can you describe the Dream Team experience in more detail? Is this through something like Skype? So the dream team experience is your dream team is they serve a lot of different functions. They're your smaller accountability group. They're the people that you check in with to let them know how you're going, what you're struggling with, what your successes are. You can ask them questions because they're studying the same language as you. So if you need recommendations for resources or certain challenges that you're facing as a part of the language that you're learning, they're the people that you can go to with those sorts of questions. You can also, of course, come to me with those sorts of questions as well. And then as far as the meetings, so you'll schedule a time each week to meet up with them and practice your language. We have, again, prompts that you can use to kind of get those conversations going. But basically, they're there for you as a resource and a support group. The Add1 community as a whole is there for that as well. But the reason we like to put you in dream teams is so that you have a smaller group of learners that you can really connect with on a more personal level and get to know, because it's really great to be able to build relationships with other people who are interested in languages. And you just get that support from that smaller group, and you really get to know those other learners, which is a really great experience as well. The way that the Dream Team meetings are held is, again, with each group, it's going to depend on the group and what platform they're most comfortable with. We have dream teams who meet on Zoom, dream teams who meet on Skype, dream teams who meet on Google Hangouts, or Google Meets, and other platforms. So there's also dream teams who meet on Facebook using the Facebook call function. So whatever you decide as a group is the best platform for you, then that's the platform that you'll use. Again, Add1 is all about personalization. So the things you talk about in your group meetings is going to be decided on as your group, based on your collective interests and needs. And so, the more personalized you can make your experience, the more personalized we can help you make your experience, the better your Add1 is going to be. Gonzalo asks, can you attend Add1 if you're learning other languages at the same time, or is it not relevant? So as I said before, in Add1, you really only want to learn one language. You don't want to try to learn more than one because it is an intensive challenge. If you decide to learn other languages on your own on the side, that is ultimately your decision. Again, we don't suggest it. If you're doing some light maintenance, it might be okay. But if you're investing a lot of time into multiple languages, it's going to slow down your progress. And because Add1 is an intensive 90-day challenge and you have a set deadline, that might not be something that you want to do. Because if you really want to reach that 15-minute goal, or if there's like a certain milestone that you want to hit in your language as a part of Add1, in order to make sure that you reach it, that focus is on one language is really important. All right, so SG990 says, is Add1 Advanced more suited for someone who's more intermediate with their language? I'm around B2 in German at this point. Yes, Add1 is definitely for someone who is a little bit more intermediate or maybe even upper beginner in their language. The great thing about Add1 Advanced is the prompts are pretty general. So they're there kind of as guidelines, but you can really adapt them to whatever level you're at. So if you need them to be a little bit simpler, if you need them to be a little bit more specific and complex, they're very open. So you're able to do that. And then again, you have access to me. So if you're not sure how to design them in that way, I'm more than happy to help. So Add1 Advanced is definitely for someone who's more intermediate, but Add1 in general, just the regular Add1, it's also great for intermediate learners because it helps you build that accountability. It helps you build that consistency. It helps you reach certain milestones. And then the way that the course is designed just helps you build general skills in the language regardless of what level that you're at. Gonzalo asks, is Add1 possible if you are not a native English speaker? Yes, it is. We actually always have an English language dream team in Add1, and those are people who are actually learning English as a part of Add1. Depending on your native language, I may be able to help, explain things in the language that is your native language in case you don't understand some of the English instructions. Sometimes there are other members in Add1 who speak your language, and you can do exchanges with them. We do support non-native speaking, non-English native speaking participants. Sorry, I hope that makes sense. Sareza asks, if I'm an intermediate level in English, but I desire to learn Korean, would I have to improve my English level first before entering Add1 for Korean? If you are able to understand the English instructions, you don't need to work on your English anymore before doing Add1 for Korean. As long as you understand the instructions, or if you want to like chat with me to make sure that you understand the instructions, you'll be fine. So it's really about if you understand the instructions or not. So you are more than welcome to do Add1 for Korean if your English is at the intermediate level. So if you guys have any more questions, if you want me to go into any more detail on anything, please leave it in the chat. I think I've gotten through anything. If I've missed your question, please go ahead and post it again, and I'll make sure that I get around to it this time. We still have a little bit of time left. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. With this Add1, the mix of languages is always going to be different than any of the previous Add1 challenges because each challenge has a different pool of applicants. So there are certain languages that almost always happen in an Add1, languages like French, Spanish, German, often Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. There's almost always participants for each of these languages. Other languages sometimes may only have one participant, like Greek, for example. So if you happen to learn a language where there aren't any other members learning the same language as you, like Christopher learning Bosnian, it's not an issue because often there are participants in Add1 who have experience with the language or similar languages that are able to help support you. Again, you have access to me, but we also put you in a dream team with mixed languages. So you still get that support and accountability. You still get to meet up weekly and practice your language. And so you don't miss out on any of those things if you're the only one learning your language in Add1. I just thought that that was something important to mention. Gonzalo asks, how many hours a week are you supposed to devote to Add1? I answered this before, but I'll just kind of go over it again briefly. So we ask for a minimum of 2 hours. There are 3 kind of template study goals that you commit to, and then about 5 minutes a day in the Add1 community. So Daniel asks, would you recommend Add1 for someone who is already at a higher intermediate to advanced level of a language who is wanting to take it to the next level? Yes, absolutely. So in Add1, the goal is to get to a 50-minute conversation in your target language in 90 days. If that's something that you can already do, there are many different ways that you can adapt that goal for you personally as a more advanced learner. So instead of it just being to make it through 15 minutes of conversation, it could be to make it through that conversation with fewer mistakes without any moments where you don't understand what the other person is saying. It could be to talk about a specific topic and get more specialized in the language. It could be any number of things. So if you're more advanced and you'd like to kind of design a more specific goal for your day 90 video, I'm more than happy to chat with you about what that could possibly be based on where you're at. So that is, Add1 is great for intermediate or advanced learners. Janet asks, what is the cost for this Add1 challenge, and are you allowed to speak to, I'm not sure if I understand the second half of your question, so if you could rephrase that. But the cost for Add1, right now, the 3-month enrollment is $197. So that covers the entire cost of Add1 for those 3 months. And if you could just maybe rephrase the second half of your question, I will be more than happy to answer that. Amin says, do you offer English language for someone who is intermediate in English? So Add1 supports every language. We really believe in the, if you give a man, it's better to teach a man to fish than give a man a fish. So we basically help you develop all of the skills that you need in order to become a successful independent language learner. And So it supports any language. Again, it's not a language specific course. So if you could be learning English, you could be learning Croatian, you could be learning Russian, you could be learning Japanese. It doesn't matter. We will support you with whatever language that you're learning. We're happy to make recommendations for tutors, for exchange partners, for resources, but we're not going to hand you an English course. That is not what Add1 is. It's more about motivation, accountability, community, consistency, building that language habit, and building all the skills that you need to learn a language on your own, to find effective resources on your own, to connect with language exchange partners, get the most out of that time, to finding a tutor and evaluating whether they're a good tutor for you or not, and then again, making the most of that time. Okay, so Janet says the email said that Add1 is changing. Yes, Add1 is going to be changing. So this Add1 is the last one that's going to be Add1 in the traditional sense of what it's been over the last, this will be Add1 40. So over the last 40 challenges, it's had a pretty similar structure. So we're making a lot of really big changes in the next Add1, and part of that is also going to be the cost of the course, but we will share more details about that in the future. But if you'd like to take part in Add1 as the way that it's been over the last 40 challenges, this is the last opportunity you're going to have to do that. All right. Oh, and when we do launch the new iteration of Add1, we will be sharing what some of the big changes are. But for now, since we're doing the last regular Add1, that's kind of what our focus is. But we'll be sharing more details about what the new Add1 is going to look like soon. All right, so let me know if you have any other questions. I'll hang on for a couple more minutes, just in case you share any other questions. But if not, I just want to say that I really look forward to seeing some of you in Add1. It's going to be a great Add1, as it always is. The community is always amazing and supportive, and I've done Add1 for almost 2 years straight now. Even for me as the head coach, I really enjoy participating in Add1 and getting to know other learners, learning alongside all of you, and getting to improve each of my languages. So I'm going to wait just a little bit longer. Let me know if you have any other questions about Add1. And if not, then I hope to see you inside Add1. All right, I'm not seeing any other new questions. So thank you so much for joining. When does it start? It starts on July 29th, but the registration deadline is this Friday. So if you plan on joining, make sure you do that before Friday, otherwise you'll miss the deadline. But the actual start date, day one of Add1, is July 29th for this Add1. Christopher asks, is there an Add1 app or is it completely web-based? So currently we run the community platform through Slack. So in a way, yes, there is an app, the Slack app. You can download that to your phone. But the actual course itself is within our the course section of the Fluent in 3 Months website. So you could access that from a mobile device or from your computer. Then once Add1 starts, you receive instructions via email. So again, you can access your emails from your mobile device. So you'll be able to do that. So yes, you can do Add1 completely from a mobile device, but in a way it's also kind of web-based. But everything that's web-based, you can also access from your phone. All right, so I don't see any other new questions coming in. If you do have other questions, feel free to send me an email. You can reply to any of the emails that I've sent to you and I will answer. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you inside Add1. Thank you for joining.